Out of the heart comes sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. We don't have time to drill down very much, but notice making money is okay, but greed, having confidence is okay, but pride. The background of this list is one of the main words used in the Bible for sin. It's a word avah, which actually means something that's dislocated, out of place. It's a word that's used to mean a dislocated bone. When a bone is not in its proper socket, it's twisted out of its shape and it's very painful. And what the Bible says is, and Jesus actually says this here, sin is a dislocated heart. To explain that, I just turned briefly to Augustine, who is the premier theologian of this part of Christian theology. What he would say is, his most famous line is, our hearts are restless. We were made for God, and our hearts are restless till they find their rest in Him. That means that your heart, our hearts, are dislocated bones. They're supposed to be resting in the socket of God. They're supposed to be loving God more than anything else and resting in God for meaning and for hope and for significance more than anything else. And to the degree that you love anything more than God, to that degree your life is disordered. Your loves are disordered. You're loving some things that are worthy to be loved, but you're loving God too little in relationship to them. And because your loves are out of order, all sin is basically disordered love. Try that on for a second. All sin is disordered love. So what is courage? It's loving your neighbor's safety more than your own. What is cowardice? It's loving your own safety more than theirs. Your loves are out of order. What is injustice? Injustice is loving your own power more than the rights of other people. Well, what is justice? It's putting the needs and rights of other people, loving them actually more than you're loving your own power and your self-interest. But ultimately, the ultimate disordered love is, if you love anything more than God, you ruin it and you ruin yourself. If I love my wife more than I love God, then I crush her with my expectations. If I don't love God more than I love my wife, I will not love her well. There'll be bitterness, there'll be jealousy, there'll be anger, there'll be pressure. In other words, all sins come from that. And if somebody says, I thought the Bible says, I've heard Christians say, sin is disobeying the law of God. Yeah, because Jesus says all the law of God can be summarized in two. Love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. And therefore, what is wrong with us? It's really relatively simple. Our loves are out of order. And our loves are out of order because we don't love God supremely. We were built for that. Our hearts are like dislocated bones. And only if our hearts find that resting place, gets back in the socket, will things start to order themselves.